Alright, welcome back to another stream, and in this one we are going to be fixing several bugs related with our website. 3 of them are related with the blog, and the last one is on the homepage. I wouldn't call that one a bug, I just want to change the layout of something. Anyway, so this is the blog post that I wrote about AirPods Pro, and also I've written a blog post about the Apple Watch. Yeah, I know all of my blog posts recently have been about Apple products, but the next one is not going to be, so yeah. Anyway, so the bug that I'm talking about in this one is this exactly. So I have 3 images in here, and the help text says swipe to see all images. I show this text just because I can't see the scroll bar on iOS devices because Apple doesn't allow scroll bars on mobile Safari. What I should be seeing instead is this thing in here. I should be able to see a scroll bar if in fact I can scroll. Let's go to the Apple Watch blog, and you're not going to see a scroll bar in here because it's not overflowing, but because this is Apple, they had to do it a bit differently, and they had to eliminate all scroll bars completely, so I had to do this weird workaround, which doesn't work that well. Okay, so I have 3 images in here. It says swipe to see all images, but I can't swipe because I've set this to show when there's more than a single image. But the problem with that one is sometimes my images are narrow, like these ones, but they don't overflow the div, so I don't really need to scroll to see all of them. But I still say swipe to see all images, which is not a good user experience. I mean, if it says swipe, and if I swipe and if it doesn't work, then it's the developer's fault, not my fault, right? Okay, so what can we do to mitigate this problem? First thing we're going to do is to get rid of this swipe to see all images text. Instead of that, maybe I can check for an overflow and then add arrows, or maybe I can just show this text when there's an overflow, right? Well, turns out that's not easy to do, and at the same time it's something that's just bad design. You shouldn't be telling the users what to do. They should be figuring out everything themselves, right? If you're telling them how to use it, then you're kind of doing the wrong thing. Then that means your experience is bad, right? When they browse this website, they have to immediately understand what they have to do. So the solution that came to my mind is I'm going to give them visual cues. So if they can scroll, like this one's a perfect example. If you look at this one without the help text, like imagine this part is not visible, you will immediately notice that this is something that you can scroll, right? Because there's a hint at the right of this. So if you take a look at that part, there's a clear line there that just says there's something else in there. Maybe tap or maybe try scrolling, and when they touch, they will immediately see that this is scrollable. But yeah, and I have to find a way to show visual cues like that one in all of my image carousels. So let me give you another example. So this is the AirPods Pro blog that I have, and this one is in fact an image carousel. This has multiple images, but if this help text wasn't there, the user wouldn't be able to tell that there are multiple images in here, right? I have to limit the image width to a certain value that some parts of the next image are visible. So I want to show something like this to the user. Okay, let's get started with that. So I'm going to go back to IntelliJ, and this is the help text that I show to my users, right? I want to get rid of it, and I'm going to get rid of it. And we have another thing in here. We check if the device is an iOS device, and we apply different styles. We're not going to do that anymore. This is going to apply to all devices that I have. So if it's an Android phone, and if they decide to get rid of the scroll bars in the future, because everyone copies Apple even though they don't agree with them, which is weird. But anyway, let's get rid of this thing in here, and I also need to get rid of the JSON, which is I forgot the name of it. Okay, let's revert back. Media carousel help text, which is in media carousel. Okay, let's remove this, and let's get rid of that one, and let's get rid of this show help text, which is coming from here. We can remove that one too. Let's remove this one, and we're going to remove the has multiple images and iOS check. I need to understand how this works, so I'm not going to remove it just yet. Okay, so let's see what that code does. It checks if the device has multiple images first, and then if it's iOS, if it has multiple images, and if it is iOS, then it does this. What is that? Multiple image iOS and multiple image. Oh, I guess I can just rename the method like that. Has multiple images. And I can do this. Yeah, that should be fine, I think. Yeah, all looks good. So these images are showing up nicely. Single images are showing up nicely as well. The margins seem to be right. The help text is gone. As you can see, it's not there anymore. I have no way of knowing that this image carousel is in fact something scrollable. If I just see this, then I'm not gonna scroll, right? Okay, so next step is to fix that. And I can inline this now. Okay, that gets rid of several lines in there. Okay, nice. So the next step is to limit the width of images. So I have a class name called AutoSizeImage, which pushes the image to be at least 100% wide or 400 pixels tall, depending on the shape of the image, right? So instead of saying this, I can limit the image size to be 90% of the width, but I should only apply this to multiple images. So if I only apply this to a single image, then all of my images are going to look like they shrinked and they're not going to fill the whole div, which is going to look weird. See? So if you set it to 90%, then you lose some space on the left and right of the images. So this is not what I want to do. So this still has to be 100%, and what I want to change is only for multiple images. So instead of this, auto size multiple image, I'm going to create a new style called auto size multiple image, and I'm going to, I think the easiest way for me to do this is to, okay, I'm going to override these things. So I'm going to set the width to be 90% if there are multiple images, but I need to compensate for that somehow. If it fits, so this will make the images look narrower and shorter, so it will make the images smaller. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I don't set this, if I just set the max width to be 90%, that's going to solve the issue, yes, but it will also make the images smaller. Okay, and in here, I'm just going to say image loaded dot length greater than 1. Then I need to use this style, auto size, that goes there. Okay, let's check this out, but we need to copy this to the other one as well. Oops. Wait, I need to copy this whole thing, right? Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at these images. So these images are definitely smaller. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's make this 50% so I can illustrate the effect better. So these images have shrinked, and oh, these ones haven't. Have they? They should have. Okay, let's make it 20%. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, these images are much slower, but the single images should not be affected. So the singular images are fine, but these images have shrunk down considerably. I mean, for these ones to squeeze, yes, it's better, but this one doesn't need to be this small, right? I can still give it some height, so it is going to be the same size as before. This is very difficult to explain. Anyway, so what I need to do is I'm going to set this to 90%, and so I've cut 10% of the width, so I'm going to add 10% height. So those things are going to the other images are going to be exactly the same size as before. So screenshots are still legible, but these ones are 90% width. So let's take a look at this image again. And this image wasn't, you wouldn't say this was an image carousel before, but I've set the width to be 90%, so it looks better now. At least the user sees this part, and it will prompt them to scroll, or it would encourage them to scroll because they would see there's something else in there. Okay, let's come back to the iPad again. So if you take a look at this area now, the users are going to see there's something else in here, and they're going to scroll, hopefully. I think that's a better approach than before, and this applies to all of our image carousels. So this just works with every other blog post that I have. So let's go to one of our first blog posts, and you're going to see the QNote one, the width of the image is limited to 90%, so the user will always see there's something to the right. There's always something to the right. Okay, let's try photosec, and there's always something to the right in here again. Okay, this looks good. And this is not going to be a problem on Android or Google Chrome, because there's always going to be this nice scroll bar that the user is going to see. And this is a scroll bar, and it's very noticeable. People are going to see that. Okay, so that's one of our bugs down. This was the first thing that was on my list today. So let's move on to the second item. Second item is to change the blog link color. So one of my friends, his name is Samuel Larsen Disney. He is, again, he is a React developer actually, and this is his personal website. We had a chat with him very recently, and he told me that I don't have enough color contrast in my links on my blog posts. I think I should read this. I mean, yeah, he knows how to make cool images, right? So yeah, visit his website. He's nice. He's cool. How do we change the blog link color? So let's go to blog post. So this is where our blog post is rendered, right? And so this is a Markdown file. I write my blog posts as Markdown files, and they get rendered out to HTML by some npm library that someone wrote. The library is called Markdown to JSX or something like that. Anyway, you'll find it in one of my streams. Just search for it. I have a custom component for this thing, but I also want to apply some styles for it. And the way that I currently apply styles is by just assigning, I'm using generic selectors for all of the class names in here. So these are all of my Markdown items, and I want to change the color of links. Okay, so let me show you what the problem is. So this blue is not very visible, and when you highlight over it, it becomes even darker. This needs to be a lighter color, especially on a dark background. The white one is okay, it's legible, and I think I'll keep this one for now, but for the dark one, this color needs to be lighter. So that's what I'm going to do. And the first thought that comes to my mind is to add an element like A in here, and I would change the color to be, let's say, deep pink for now. So okay, as you can see, this changes the color for these buttons as well, and also the social media buttons when you hover over them if you assign the style. I've tried that before, so I know. Okay, so this is not the way to go. And I need to apply, so these styles should only apply to the Markdown file itself, right? Rather than the whole website. So I need to somehow shift this style from here into the blog post itself. So how am I supposed to do that? Okay. So I'm going to rename this style. So instead of saying blog post dark style and blog post etc., I'm just going to say, so this is going to be called blog container. Blog container dark. Did they change in here? Of course not. Blog container and blog container dark. Okay, so that's phase one. Nothing should change. Yep, everything looks the same. It was just a name change. Okay, and currently I'm applying all of those styles to everything under here, but I only want to apply them to the Markdown element that you see in here. How can I do that? I can get that container style, blog container, and I can just take it and apply it to this Markdown element, but that would break other stuff. Actually, I'm not even going to show you that part. I'll just change it and then it will probably make sense, hopefully. So I'm setting a max width for the container, right? But all of these things in here, the rest of them are specific to the Markdown element that I have in there. So I need to apply these things to Markdown, but these things should stay in the container itself. Okay, so I'm going to define a different style for these specific things called blog post style. And I'm going to separate, well, I could have called this, yeah, okay. Let's rename this one again, blog post style, dark style, blog post dark style, and blog post style. Okay, let's import them back in. All right. We can, well, let's keep that in there for now because I need to move it to the Markdown element in here. So class name, and in here we're going to say blog post style, and I'm going to add more styles, so let's add the backticks in there. So I'm just going to check if it's, yeah, I'm just going to move this to here and close the backticks. And this is not called blog container dark anymore, it's called blog post dark style. Okay. So nothing should change, and yes, everything looks the same. Now I can change the link colors. So I'm going to add another thing in here. I'm just going to say, well, I'm only going to change it for the dark website, right? I said I wasn't going to change it for the light version. So I'll add this in here and say color. Let's say deep pink for now. So it should only apply to these things, but not those buttons over there. Okay, that works. And what color do I want to set? Okay, let's take a look at our color palette. So, the default color should be something light, like sky blue. Yeah, that's a nice color, I guess. Okay, sky blue, and when you hover over them, I want the color to change into, let's say, light blue. Okay. That's barely visible. Let's try just blue. Okay, that's better. Okay, and do I want the underlines? Yes, I think I'm going to keep the underlines. All right, so that's done as well. The next item on the list is backtick Markdown elements don't look nice. They don't have the nice font and the contrast is not good enough. Okay, so that's one of Sam's feedback again. Let me show you what the backtick elements are. So these are what Sam is referring to. I think they look okay. Maybe he didn't like the font. Yeah, I guess I can change the font. So let's zoom in. Yeah, I guess I can change the font to Menlo so it would look nicer. And this is probably the same font that I use in my React icons blog. So this is, Yeah, I can change this font to Menlo and it would look nicer. Maybe he was just picky about the font. And I can use a lighter color. But it's the same color as the links, right? So let's take a look at the color for these ones. What color am I using? So A2C1EB. Yeah, it's sky blue. It's the same color as the links. Okay, I'm gonna keep that color. But I'm gonna change the font. I have downloaded the Menlo regular font, so that's the font that I'm gonna use. Okay, let's remember how we used fonts. Alright, that's what we do. So we're gonna define a new font. Okay, that should work out of the box, hopefully. Okay, let's see that in action. So what are we gonna change? What are those elements called first of all? So if I right click one of them and inspect, what am I gonna find out about them? So they're code. Okay. All right, so let's come here, code, dark blue. Okay, font family, Menlo, mono, space. Do they look better? Maybe. Yeah, I guess. So are these Menlo as well? Let's see. Yes, they are. Okay. Sam, I hope you're happy with this font. I would say it looks better, yes. It's not noticeably better, but it looks more like code, more like IntelliJ, because this is Menlo. The other one was Menlo. Okay, that looks more modern. I'm gonna agree. Okay. But why did they complain about the contrast? This is a really dark color. How dark can it go? I don't remember. Maybe I'll ask again, but I'm happy with this color, so I'm gonna keep it. Okay. The next item is horizontal iPad displays 6 cards right now, but it should display 8 on the blog posts area. Okay. So apparently I have another user story about the iPad displaying 8 cards in here instead of 6, and 6 looks reasonable, but I want to make sure that I display as much data as possible, like this one. So imagine this page, but with 8 cards. So if I change the screen orientation, I'm going to squeeze in 8 cards in here. So let's see how that's going to look like. It's too much in your face. There's too much content. I'm like, when I take a look at this, I don't know what to look at. It's too much stuff. I'm not going to do this one. I can do it, but I'm not going to do it. Well, even though we decided not to do the last item, thank you for joining the stream, and I hope you learned something new. And yeah, I will see you on the next one.